Hello everyone, this is Danny from creatingawebstore.com, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to change the background of an image. I'm actually going to be showing you a couple of different techniques that I will use because as you can see this image is a bit difficult to work with due to the blonde hair here and due to the sun and all those light background colors. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap this background with this other background here. And to start, what I'm going to do is I'm first going to use the background eraser tool, and afterwards I will be using some other techniques to get rid of the rest of the background. So to start, if your layer is locked, simply unlock it by double-clicking it. Next, we're going to choose the background eraser tool here. And what we're going to do is we're going to select sampling once, and we're going to select contiguous for limits. And for tolerance, I have it at 6%, but I can actually change this depending on the areas that I'm working with. For example, areas that are difficult to distinguish from the background, you would want to go with a lower tolerance level. And areas that are easily distinguished from the background, there you would want to raise the tolerance level because you wouldn't have to worry about getting into too much of the actual foreground when erasing. So you can also choose a brush size. Smaller brush size might work better around areas with fine details, but it will also take you longer to clean up the background. So what I'll do is I'll use a brush of maybe 15, and now I'm simply going to click my mouse and simply just go along the hair right here. I can actually go a little higher in brush size to say 30. Let me try this. Yes, and I'm still not doing any damage. Now, if you end up doing any damage, what you can do is you can always undo. And the reason I'm clicking and not dragging while holding the left mouse button down is because I'm actually getting more done by clicking. Now, if I were to raise the tolerance level, I can probably drag, but since the color is light of the hair here, I would probably get into the foreground as well. But we can try to raise the tolerance just a bit and see what happens. As you can see, it's still working fine. Again, if you ever run into problems, you simply just lower the tolerance a little bit and you'll be fine. So I'm only going to be using the background eraser tool around the hair because I want to get as much of the fine details as possible. And when we swap the background, when we can see how all of it looks a bit better, that's when we'll actually use some other tools to clean up the rest. And I'll show you how to create that illusion effect towards the end of the video when I actually get to the part where I replace the actual background. As you can see, I'm actually leaving quite a bit of space here because what I'll do is I'll actually just come in with the regular eraser tool and clean up the rest here. As you can see here, I went a little too deep, so I'm just going to undo. And now what I'll do is I'll lower the tolerance a bit. And here I can raise the tolerance. And now I'll simply start this other side here. And once I get finished with the hair, the rest is actually going to be a lot easier. Now, the more time you spend, the better this will look. I'm doing, I would say, a good job, but I could do a better job if I had more time on my hands. But since I'm shooting a video here, I'm trying to keep this video somewhat short. So I'm not going to do an excellent job, but I will do a very good job. And now what I'll do is I'll go right here and I'll make sure that the quick selection tool is selected. And now I will simply hold down my left mouse button and simply drag along her hand. And these areas right here where I went a little too far in, what I'll do is I'll hold down the Option key on my keyboard because I'm on a Mac. If you're on a Windows, you're going to want to hold down the Alt key. And I'll then simply hold down my left mouse button and I'll simply push this way to fix this area right here. And for the watch, I'll do the exact same thing here. So I'm going to zoom in a bit for you so that you can see things a bit better. And now I will simply drag, and here again I'm going to have to hold down the Option key on my keyboard and also push while holding the left mouse button. Note that here I actually have a brush size of 4 pixels. The smaller the brush size, the easier it is to pick up around fine details. The larger the brush size, again, that's where it starts going in a little deeper and you can't actually catch all the details as well. For example, around the sleeve here, I can actually go higher. When you're holding the Alt key or the Option key on your keyboard, you're going to want to hold it down and drag, and then after you're finished taking away, you're going to want to release it and also release the mouse button as well. And when you do so, you'll see this circle that it will change from a minus to a plus sign. That's how you know whether you're adding or taking away from it. And now what I'll do is I'll simply clear this by simply going to Edit and Clear. Note that you can use shortcuts. I'm only doing this through the menus here so that you can see what I'm doing a bit better. And now what I'll do is I'll simply right click and left click on Deselect, and now I'll use the regular eraser tool to clean up the rest over here. And I'm simply going to change the opacity to 100% so that I can get all of this. And now what I'll do is I'll simply choose a larger brush size so that I can clean this up a bit faster. And now I'll simply take my new background by going to the tab here, and I'll unlock this image by double clicking it. And then I'll select the regular rectangular marquee tool here, and then I'll simply hold down the left mouse button and drag down and simply select the new background. And then I'll go to Edit and Copy, and then I'll simply paste. And now I'll simply move the new background beneath the layer with the girl in it. And now I'll simply position the new background with the select tool here to where I want it. And now after I'm finished, I'm actually going to clean up the rest here. And I'll show you a little technique that I'll use that will be a lot faster. But first, let me crop this because as you can see, I have some space here. And now I'll grab the eraser tool here. And now simply select the layer with the foreground in it. And now before I show you that other technique, I see some areas that I missed with the regular eraser tool. So I'm going to get in as close as possible here, like so. And now I'm going to lower the brush size of the regular eraser tool here. And what I'll do is I'll lower the opacity to say 30%. And now what I'll do is I'll simply drag along here, making a nice clean finish. Without actually having to worry about taking away from the picture. Because of the opacity, you can still see much of the hair. So it creates an illusion that makes it look like it's 100% clean, but in reality, I'm actually erasing from the hair, but since the opacity is pretty low, I'm only erasing the parts that I don't want. Like so. And now I'll just switch to my regular eraser tool here with 100% opacity. And I'll just clean up the excess around here. And as you can see, I now have a beautiful image that has been cleaned up quite nicely. So, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more videos and also be sure to check out creatingawebstore.com.